Hi, my name is David Welch. You've seen tons of my YouTube videos showing you how to get your truck back on the road nice and safe. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to install a fuel pump into your original gas tank. Why do you want to do that? Well, if you've got an LS engine, like most hot rodders do these days, you're going to need the higher fuel pump pressure in order to get those fuel injectors working right. Or if you've got a carbureted engine, you want to clean up the engine bay, fuel pump in the gas tank's a good way to go. Also, it runs cooler in the gas tank, so your fuel pump lasts longer. Now, our kit comes with our fuel pump bracket here. It comes with this tray, and what this is this is a sump. So the gas will be sitting in here with your fuel pump, and when you accelerate hard or make hard lefts and rights, your fuel pump is still going to be sitting in gas and not run dry and go bad on you. It's also going to come with your gasket and this ring right here, a couple of fittings, a couple of hoses. So let's take a look and see what we're going to do next. So you want to put a little bit of thought into where you're going to put the pump. You want to make sure that it's at the rear, because when you accelerate, of course, all the gas goes back to the rear. You're going to want to make sure that it has clearance from your fuel sending unit, and you're also going to want to make sure that when you put it in, that your baffle or your sump right here is running side to side and not front to rear. Again, this helps keep the gas in the tray when you're cornering hard or braking hard or accelerating hard. Once I've got my placement figured out where it's not going to run into any problems with my fuel sending unit or anything else, I can go ahead and start drilling. Let me show you how I do that. So just to save time, I've already drilled this hole out, but let me show you how I did that. I'm going to take my ring right here and I'm going to use it as a template. I'm going to go ahead and set it down, and I'm going to pick two holes in my plate here that are directly across from each other, running parallel with the tank side to side, and I'm going to pick two holes that are running front to back. So I want this nice and squared in here. I'm going to mark not just my plate but the gas tank too, so that I can go ahead and use a straight edge and mark for my center hole that I can drill out, or center punch. Now this is probably the only thing you're going to need that you don't have in your toolbox is a 4.5-inch hole saw. Once I have sawed this on out, we'll need to be doing all of these little holes on the side. Now, you don't want to just put this down and mark all the holes and then get the drill and drill all the holes, because it kind of walks around on you. So we're just going to drill two holes on the side. I'm going to put a screw in, then this is going to hold the ring in place, and I'll be able to mark the rest of the holes and make sure that it's accurate. Once I've got those out, I can drill them all out. I'll put my ring back on just to make sure that all my holes are lining up and I don't have to enlarge anything. We're looking good. If you've damaged your flange here, just get a hammer and dolly and straighten that on out. So we've got this all set up. Next thing we're going to do is clean out the gas tank. So metal shavings in your gas tank obviously aren't going to do your filter or your pump any good. Vacuum it out as best you can, but then what you're going to do is get a little bit of WD-40, go ahead and pour it in the gas tank, get a magnet, drop it inside, go ahead and pick it up, sloth it all around, and then when you pull the magnet back out, all the smallest little shavings will be on the magnet instead of on your filter and in your fuel pump. Next, I'm going to set up my bracket for my fuel pump. Now this actually comes a little bit longer so that when you install it, you've got a lot of different lengths. But we can't have this bottom out on there. So we're going to go ahead and measure our depth. We're going to cut off the amount we need to and just a little bit more, so we've got some adjustment. You'll notice this is slotted right here. So we're going to take small screw that comes with the kit. We'll put it in the back here like that. We'll go ahead and install the sump right there. We'll take this piece right here and we'll go ahead and bolt this down. Now I'm just getting this down kind of like a finger tight. It's just a bit snug so that it'll stay in place. Then I'll be able to insert it and make sure that it's not bottoming out or that it's up too high either. We need this right on the bottom so that we keep gas in our sump at all times. So once this is tightened up, I will bring it all the way down to the bottom of the slot. I can go ahead and install. And then I can see that it's keeping me up, but it's kind of loose. So all I got to do is push down. Now pull it up carefully, not disturbing it. And tighten it up the rest of the way. Another thing that we're going to want to do when we're getting this all set up is you'll notice that it says supply, return, and vent. Now we'll get 2 of these NPT connectors here, and we're going to put one in our supply and one in our return. The vent you may or may not need depending on your gas tank. A lot of the trucks already have vents in their systems built in. We're going to want to make sure too that these are pointing the right direction and then tighten them up. So we're going to want to know which way our fuel lines are going to be going, and then we're going to go ahead and bolt these on and make sure that they are not going to be in the way of anything like our frame, electrical wires, etc., etc. So I'll mark these guys which way I like them. Pull this back out and then tighten them up. So what I want you to do now is note this little bracket right here. When this is installed, you want to make sure that you have it horizontal. And the reason being is that your fuel pump is going to cradle right into there, and you're going to use this clever zip tie system they have to hold it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my filter on. When I put my filter on, make sure it's on good and solid. I'm going to make sure this nipple right here is at the very back. It has to be at the back so that when it's installed, it's going to line straight up with our supply side. And now I can go ahead and measure my distance here. I can go ahead and cut my hose to the right length. While I'm doing that, I'm also going to be cutting my return line at the same time. So I'll measure that also. I want to make sure that my return line is coming down into my baffle. I want to make sure it's not on the outside. I want to make sure that we get gas continually in there. I'm not going to have it all the way down because it might plug off. I'll have it up about 1 inch off the bottom. So I'll get all these guys cut up. I'll get my clamps on. Then I'll go ahead and install. So it's easier if you put this one on first. Tighten it down, and then we'll go ahead and install the top. Make sure that you are putting it on the supply. I'll get my return on also. I'll get that clamp on in a little bit. We'll get all this down. We'll get our zip tie. We'll secure our pump. We'll get our electrical connection here. Might be a good idea to put just a little bit of electrical dielectric grease on there. And now I can go ahead and install this, but I'm going to have to put in my ring and my gasket first. I'll get some short screws that come with this, and I'll put 2 of them on. Kind of screw them in a bit across from each other like this, and I'll take my ring, and this is going to install underneath so that it's sandwiched down. Before I put my gasket on, I'll take a little bit of gasket sealer and I'll put it on my finger and I'll just kind of paint around the whole surface. I'm not going to do that with this because we don't need to. We'll take our ring and we'll put it on like this. Get our gasket. Line up our holes. And then I can lightly screw this down. Get our other side matched up. Alright, so I'll put a little bit of gasket sealer on the top of this too, then I can go ahead and install my pump. When I'm installing this, I am using the marks that we put on here and lining them up with the marks on our tank to be sure that we are totally squared into the tank. Now I can take this really long screw that comes with our kit and I'm going to pick a hole that is right next to one of the screws that are already in there holding our ring in place, and I'm going to carefully get this started. These are fine thread and you can strip the thread sometimes, so be careful when you're getting that on in there. This is a bit tedious too. This is going to take you a little bit of time, might be a little bit aggravating, so make sure that you're in a good mood when you do it. I got this guy started. I can go ahead and take this little guy out right here. And then I will get the medium-sized screws and I'll fill in the holes next to that. And I'm just going to go one at a time all the way around in a circle. So I got this screw out. Now you see the little bit longer ones here. I'll grab my long one and I'll pull up on it so that my ring is up against the top of the tank. It's generally a better idea to get these started with your fingers first. If you start with a screwdriver or something, you might get it a little cockeyed. And sometimes you'll lose the hole, so it's a good idea to get a pick like this sometimes. I'm going to snug these up some to draw my ring up to the top, make it a little bit easier to get the rest in. I'm not going to tighten it down a lot. I'm just going to get it nice and snug. Okay, so that's nice and snug. Now I am going to, by hand, get each of these in and make sure that it's threading properly. It's really easy to get these a little cockeyed and strip them, so you got to be careful. And I don't want to do them totally tight now because I still might have to jiggle this guy around to get each one of these started. Now, the reason that we're going in a line right here is because the ring is getting pulled up. If I was to take this screw right here, for instance, and try to bring it in on the other side where it's hanging down further, then it's not flat, and more than likely this isn't going to catch. So we just have to carefully bring our ring up and make sure everything's lined up. I've got my 15 screws all tightened down. A little bit of word about that, I forgot. You want to get a little bit of anti-seize and put that on there because these screws, they'll be in here for quite a bit of time. This condensation builds up in your gas tank sometimes. It'll rust these in, so a little anti-seize is going to help you out for that. You can see we're all in nice and secure. All of our inlets and outlets are in the right spot, our electrical connectors. You can see that our fuel pump is in correctly. It's at the back and it's running side to side, not front to back. Be sure you check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel because I've got tons of these things for you.